This is a really important concept in chipping, and one that I work on with all my students regardless of skill level, so from beginner all the way through to tour player. And I know that if you get this right, it will make a massive difference to your strike and your composure around the green. I'm going to keep the video really short and simple and get straight to the point, and there's a brilliant drill towards the end that will help you kind of bring this into your game. So let's get started. And it's the concept of swing length, rhythm and flow. Really simple stuff, but I would imagine pretty much most golfers get this wrong as they try and control the shot or get anxious about the strike, and these are the first things that would go wrong. So if you notice when you watch the players on telly, you will see that unless it's a particularly specialist shot, like they're playing from the rough, etc., you'll see that in their chip shots, their backswing and follow through almost match, or the follow through might be just a little bit shorter. And there's a real kind of flow and acceleration to the motion, and a pretty sudden stop. You'll also see that when they stop, they'll hold the follow through until the ball sort of stop rolling, etc. What you won't see is the big kind of push and guide where there's a short follow through and that big long kind of end to the swing where it's kind of pushed down the fairway. That is awful for strike, very inconsistent, awful for distance control as well. You won't see the kind of the short stabby one. Again, unless it's unless it's a specific rough shot. But worst of all, I think the worst kind of rhythm is one where the club is over controlled, overly gripped at the handle, and everything is very slow and controlling. That ultimately leads to slow fast and all kinds of yippy anxious movements. So there's a few things in that. There is the rhythm and flow, there's the acceleration, there's the composure to hold that at the end, and there's also that attentional piece as to where your focus is when you're playing the shot. So before we get into the drill, it's important we understand how we're actually trying to create the motion of the chipping stroke and how we're trying to control the club. And it works like this. There's always a balance going on between how much we control the handle and how much we allow the club head to flow and swing under its own kind of momentum and gravity. The balance works like this. If we are too controlling at this end, let's say we're 100% control, we have a stiff grip, that my wrists and my arms are fused, and it is tight and really kind of steery and controlling, and that is absolutely counterproductive to actually create control. So back to that, the phrase we often use on the channel, to gain control, give up control. At the other end of the scale is a motion which is all flow. So there's maybe, I don't know, 5% me at this end and the rest is flow. And that's nice. That has a flow and a rhythm to it which is uninterrupted, but it's obviously just a little bit kind of flimsy for a golf shot. So there needs to be this balance that is played out between the two. And, and it will change for different chip shots and lies, but I would say broadly speaking, that needs to be certainly much more club head than you, so more flow than control at your end. So I would imagine most of my shots, I am 30% me and 70% flow. So there's a fairly loose grip, so maybe 3 out of 10 on the sort of pressure scale, and I'm allowing that club head to swing. And a drill that I often use to help people with this is to stick a weight, so that's just a simple sort of cheap weight on the club, and I just kind of ask them to feel what is it like to actually get that club head swinging. And with the weight on it, I think most of us can connect to swinging the head as opposed to kind of guiding it and steering it. Okay, let's think about our drill then. So first up, we've got that concept, we need a fairly light grip, and we need to be swinging the head so that it has a rhythmical swing and flow to it and we're not kind of over controlling it. Let's move on. So your first step is to be able to, well, first of all, swing all the way through uninterrupted to the follow through and be able to stop the club in a quite a purposeful manner. And that's actually harder than it may sound, particularly if you are a golfer who's had one of the three kind of stooges that we mentioned earlier, the big steery one or the stabby one, etc. So can you just get to the end of your swing uninterrupted and stop? There's a certain kind of rhythm and flow to that in itself. Then here's the goal. Here's what I want you to work on. I would like you to do exactly that, but then just reflect to yourself as to how far the follow through is relative to the backswing using this scale. So if the follow through goes the same length as the backswing, you're going to say it's a 0, it's the same. If the follow through is longer, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's shorter, it's minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we're aiming for is, I would say ideally you're looking for -1, but 0, -1 or 2 is fine. It doesn't need to be exact. What is not good is positive numbers. You know, going much further is not great, and obviously very short's not great. So let's give that a go. Oh, that felt like a 0, possibly a -1. That's the kind of pushy, steery one. We don't want that. Then there's the sharper attack. Oh, that's a -3. Let's have our practice again. Let's see if we can get back into that sense of flow. Adding a scuff. That feels about right. And yeah, -1, maybe 0. Now there's a couple of things going on there. There is obviously the sense of flow and rhythm, which is really important. But there is also me being disconnected in a healthy way, or defused from strike. So my attention is no longer on strike. My attention is right there where I need it, which is getting the club to my finish position with rhythm and flow, and then trusting that strike will happen. So often when people struggle with their chipping, there is this, what I would call fusion to the ball. So this real kind of unhelpful over attention on trying to strike it, and that's when this whole sense of rhythm and flow and coordination breaks down. So as well as rhythm and flow, we're also working on keeping your attention to the very end of the swing, which is absolutely brilliant, especially when you're under pressure and you're worried about your strike. I'm just thinking of getting to that point, not too concerned with the ball, and of course strike would just happen. So there we go. As I say, simple but not easy. If you want to know more about the short game and have some drills which are really effective in improving your strike, then I'll put that in a video linked just down here. But before I see you next time, good luck, play well. That was close.